stay. Webby, GA, and Matt are here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Come and have your say.
Welcome to a new season. A season where we wonder, once again, who is going to win, who is going to finish with the wooden spoon, who will surprise or disappoint us, and who will just won't turn up. And that's just the Nigel Pearson Prediction League. Now, we have been calling for some transparency on this programme within Speedway for a very good while now. And, of course, we're not being alone with that. It seems, though, at last, in the Premiership anyway, we have our wish. Phil Morris has been named as the SGB Premiership CEO. That's a mouthful, by the way. And it's a welcome and long overdue move. So let's just hope he's given the support that he needs and just say good luck to you, Phil. Now, how about the Championship joining in? We're good, I think. Now, before we go any further, I would like to welcome on board the Birmingham Speedway Supporters Club, who will now be associates of the Speedway Tavern. This is going to change nothing as far as the content of the show is concerned, and there is room on board for anyone else who wants to join us. Just contact Webby at contact@srbmedia.co.uk for info, which I'm sure Webby will shove on the different formats as we go on. What it does mean, however, is that we will be producing some different extra programmes. There's some in the pipeline as we speak, and we're very excited about this. More to follow. But now it's time for some Speedway talk by the fans, for the fans, only on the Speedway Tavern.
Wow, you sounded almost professional.
I've been practising.
Yeah.
We don't use that word on here, do we?
No.
I think that might be the first time it's ever been used.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Only
certainly by me.
Only with the word "on" in front of it.
Yep, absolutely. So, good evening, gentlemen. Have you all Christmased well?
Fantastic.
Not bad.
Have I just turned the word Christmas into a verb?
Well, you've just used the word Christmas in nearly April, so...
Yeah.
Christmas.
It's been Christmassy weather the past few weeks, hasn't it?
Does a bit, actually.
So, yeah, a brand new season coming up soon. We will be making absolute idiots of ourselves as we try to predict once more who's going to finish top of the league in all three leagues. It's going to be fun.
Cheers.
I've got to say, this is probably one of the most eagerly awaited seasons in a long time, isn't it? I was thinking about that the other day, because the last time I felt that way about a Speedo season was 2020, and of course it never happened. But, This one obviously is going to.
We hope.
We hope, yeah. There's still
We hope.
24 hours to go. So. But I think the big thing we have to start off first of all is the, as you mentioned,
Phil Morris.
That's just looking at the statement that was released at the time it was announced, and the words from Chris Louis: the Premiership CEO is a new role which we agreed was very much needed, and I think the timing is right, especially with what's going on in the world of Speedway. We want to enhance the professionalism and integrity of the league, as well as making it simple, transparent and fun for the fans to view and understand, and to improve the product and put British Speedway back at the top of the tree where it did sit for many years. So the words professionalism and integrity.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
Oh, God, he started singing. I'm going home. No. Good God.
What a great move.
We just lost our listener.
What a great move. A really, really, really positive move. And he's exactly the right man for the job as well.
It is. And he is the right man, because you don't feel that. I mean, that he will suffer fools gladly is the first thing. And I don't know whether you've read the piece that he did in the Speedway Star, but it was all positive, all about moving Speedway forward and with ideas. I have one worry though.
Is he going to be allowed to do the job?
That's the worry. That's the worry. How many times have we said on this programme that they being the promoters have brought on board this idea or that idea, and we've gone, yeah, that's not a bad idea, and then the next year it just disappears because they said, oh, it didn't work, and we've always said, well, make it work then. But so I just hope that this isn't another one of those.
Well, I think, as you've said, I mean, obviously you know Phil well from when he was involved at Birmingham, and as was shown at the end, of course, he didn't suffer fools gladly.
No.
You know, he knows the sport inside out. Of course, he was he was a rider for many years. He's I must admit, I remember watching him when he was at Reading all those years ago. Never ever expecting him to be the most powerful man in the top league of British Speedway, but hey ho. But knows the sport inside out. Of course, has been involved with the GPs as the race director.
Done a good job as well
for quite a few years. So he's had a good grounding in that as well. So yeah, big positive. And I think he's already said he's already got his own ideas as to things that are going to be happening, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people making suggestions to him of things that need to be done. So, but yeah, wish him well.
Yeah. And I mean, people will make suggestions, I'm sure. However, he will go the way that he feels that it needs to go.
As we've said, he's got to be allowed to do the job.
That's the problem.
He's got to be allowed. He can't just have people saying, "Well, you can't do that because we've never done it that way." He's got a job. Let him get on with it. If
he's the CEO, he's the CEO.
Absolutely, yeah. And of course, it does is interesting, of course, whether that's going to expand to the other two leagues.
It would be nice to think so, because the whole Speedway needs to be the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise it doesn't look good.
Well, the most important thing for me as well is that Phil Morris is not affiliated with any club.
Exactly.
There's no financial interest in any other club. I know that he's ridden for a couple of the clubs that are in the league, but that's not the same as having a financial investment.
Yes, exactly right. There's a few people to say hello to, I believe, Chris, already.
Yeah, it's busy already. Craig's me, Simon Corbett, David James, Andrew Garner, Peter Clark, Jeff Daniels again, no sound, but there is, he's lying. Evening guys, sound here okay? Evening gents, said Lawrence, sounds okay, sorry, I should think so as well. Evening chaps, great to be back. Evening from Rich and John Bird.
Can we just go back up to Pete Clark's little, because he had a little comment there I'd like to read out, which I think is a rather nice. That's the one. He could just gone past me again. There he goes. Pete Clark says we can start the season now that you're back.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Pete.
Is he talking about me or?
He's been working hard down at Birmingham the whole close season.
Evening everyone, says Stephen Mollison. David James says, who do we think will win the Premiership League and Championship? I believe we're going to talk about that later.
We're going to be given time. There's already a question come up.
Sorry, yep.
So we'll have a look at this. I don't actually know about this, but can we discuss what allegedly happened at Peterborough last night? The white line on turns 1 and 2 was brought in to avoid a rut in the track, apparently, and this was done halfway through the meeting. Not sure if this is in the rules, and surely it alters the shape of the track and track records, etc. It may have also disadvantaged the away team, although the result shows it didn't work, if that was their tactic. Seems a bit strange, that one. I would think it's probably more likely to disadvantage the home team, wouldn't you?
You would have thought so. I mean, I know they had an issue with the floodlights. I think the floodlights failed before the start of the meeting as well.
Okay.
I've seen a few clips from that meeting. Really, really big crowd. Of course, a lot of interest in that one with the big guns, of course, returning to British Speedway. Although, of course, one of them only lasted about half a lap before he came off and had to pull out the meeting. So,
right. I'm guessing that was Mr. Pedersen.
It was indeed. Yeah.
Thanks, Craig. I've turned Matt's mic up now, so it should be okay.
You shouldn't have done that.
I was turning it off myself.
As far as the moving the white line is concerned, I think that's been done before, hasn't it?
I think it has.
I'm sure it has.
Well, I gather the CEO was there last night, so he will have seen all these things that are going on. So if it's something that he doesn't like, then Might be something for his little black
Well,
book
it does
to,
feel a little bit amateurist to be changing the shape of the track halfway through the meeting.
It does a little bit, yeah.
We have
I've
to
seen
say that.
I've seen some clips of some of the racing last night. There was, Emil Seifert off a brilliant ride in his first seat to come from third to first.
He had a good meeting, didn't
yeah,
he?
only dropping 1 point.
As did Doyley, of course.
Yeah, well, Dawley didn't actually win a race. I don't think.
Right.
I think he had 4 paid wins and one second place. So.
Okay, so Craig's May, hopefully Morris' appointment is a step in the right direction for an independent body to take over the sport. Well, little steps, baby steps.
Yep.
But it is a massive move, I think. Dave Twine, Red Car versus Brum is still on BSS, although it's been moved to the Saturday. I'll be in Mallorca. Oh dear.
Well, you can get it there, can't you?
Okay, I'm going to see how many times you can get Mallorca in tonight.
Oh, you'll be fed up. Richard Thomas says my team Swindon's gone for good.
Doesn't look good, does
Doesn't
it,
look
Swindon,
great.
unfortunately.
No, it doesn't. But we said that about Birmingham. So, and then now they're back. We've said it about it a couple of times since they've been back.
We have, yeah.
Dave Twine said supported Swindon when Brum was not running.
Is that allowed?
Think so.
Okay.
Think so.
Oh, I wouldn't put up with that.
Simon Corbett's all the hype with Bewley cost them last night.
He's not had a very good start, has he, Dan Bewley?
No.
I think he only got about 7 at Sheffield on Thursday and scored 4 last night.
That's
hopefully there's a few technical teething problems that he's having, but
the opposition might have had something to do with that as well, of course.
Oh yeah,
Thanks, Pete. Pete's having a little dig at me. He's told me the air fence is all finished, so I can come back now because I virtually put it up single-handed
You've been
myself.
busy, haven't you? You've been busy, decorating.
I have been busy.
Helping Leanne.
Yeah, you sort of. Yeah, let's not go into that.
I did say that. Yeah. So.
Welcome back to you as well, Brian. Okay, so I guess we better start our with trepidation. Trawl through the leagues and
position
see
is
if
he
we can. Yeah, probably
Sorry.
rider replacement.
I'll let you shut up.
Right, so shall we have a look at? So what I thought we'd do is go through each team and say a little bit about each, and then we'll give our what we think is going to be the 1 to 4.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
As per normal. Have you got the teams in?
I've got them here, yep.
Good. That's
Well, at least one of us has done some preparation.
Yeah.
So let's start off with the Premiership. So we'll start off with the reigning champions, Bellevue. Dan Bewley, Brady Kurtz, Charles Wright, Jamin Lidsey, Norrie Bladorn, Tom Brennan, and the rising star is Jake Mulford.
Okay, first thing is I don't know anything much at all about Jake Mulford. So it's not one of the rising stars, if that makes sense.
Yep. Tom Brennan, of course, starts the season still at reserve, so he's going to obviously be, I believe he starts at reserve anyway, so I think that'll be an advantage for Bellevue in the early
Tom
weeks.
Brennan's a rider I've got a lot of time for, and I think he's going to be a very good rider.
I think he will be, yeah, but I don't think that Bellevue team is as strong as the team that won the league last season.
No, it was sort of proven last night, wasn't it?
A little bit, yeah. Against a good Sheffield side, in fairness.
Yeah. You have to say, Dan Bewley coming back is great news, but as we've said, not had a great
start. I think, to be fair,
form is temporary.
let's be honest, the last time he rode in for Bellevue, of course, he was riding as a second string. Now, of course, he's
going to be number one.
So, and there's a big expectation, of course, because he had a brilliant season in 2022. But hopefully there's a few teething problems and he'll get back, because there'll be some. Certainly, watching him at Bellevue this season against some of the riders that are going to be coming to Bellevue this year is going to be really going to be exciting. So, but I think Bellevue will be top 4. But
we'll come to that in a minute.
I think they'll be there. I think they'll be in there, but I don't see them as being one of the favourites to win it. I think there might be a few teams that are just ahead of them in the second order.
Next up,
Ipswich, and they've got Jason Doyle, Keenan Root, Danny King, Eric Riss, Emil Seifertenoff, Daniel Hume, and the rising star, Joe Thompson.
We obviously know quite a bit about Joe Thompson.
Yep.
He's a good little rider. That's a hell of a team, isn't it?
Well, the way I'm looking at it is if you're racing against Ipswich, if you go into the last 3 races and you're 4 points up, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble,
when Ipswich can bring Doyle and Seifert off out in the big heat. It's great to see them all back in British Speed. I know that there's been some sort of negative feedback because of the
Russian thing, but
he doesn't. You can't do anything about that, unfortunately.
I think. He spent most of his life in
Poland.
So
yeah, and by all accounts, he got a very warm welcome at Peterborough last night. Whether it was as warm after Ipswich won there is another matter. But even so, even looking beyond their top 2, Eric Riss has got a lot of potential. Danny King's been there, probably the strongest of the third heat leaders in the league.
Yeah.
Keenan Roo's very highly rated. I think he had a good night last night at Peterborough.
We've sort of predicted Ipswich to do well seasons before, and they've never really. They're sort of flattered to deceive, but this looks a hell of a team to me.
And I think one rider that I'm really looking forward to seeing this season, I think, is Daniel Hume, because he made a lot of progress in 2022, and he's going to learn a lot with having Doyle and Seifert off in the side, and Danny King as well. So.
And a team that promoters are going to enjoy having visit them because it's going to bring crowds out, isn't it?
Well, they had a massive crowd at Peterborough last night, so
yeah. Okay, next one up.
Next one is Kings Lynn. They've got Frederick Jakobsen, Christoph Kasperzak, Nikolai Klint, Josh Pickering, Thomas Jorgensen, Michael Palm Toft, and their rising star, Jason Edwards.
Not great 1 to 7, I don't think. When you compare them with Ipswich.
It's a solid 1 to 7, but not spectacular, I don't think. They've obviously got one of the most exciting riders in the sport in Josh Pickering. It was a real big hit when he rode at Birmingham as a guest in quite a few meetings last season.
I so wanted him to ride for us this year, but
Christoph Kasperzak's back in the league. He's obviously had a tough few years.
Yeah, I wonder what sort of KK they're going to get.
Well, this is it. Is it the one that Birmingham had, or?
There were times when Birmingham...
It was occasionally brilliant.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. He had some really good meetings for Birmingham. People tend to forget that. He had some duff ones as well. Yep. But I think that's what you... Richard Thompson says Kasperzak will be gone by June. So, okay. Well, next one.
Next one is Leicester, back in the top flight, of course. And they go with Chris Harris, Max Frick, Richard Lawson, Nick Morris, Justin Sedgman, Jake Allen, and their rising star is Dan Thompson.
Okay. They could be...
I think they're spoilers.
Spoiled, yeah.
So they've certainly got a good... At number 1 in Max Frick.
Yeah.
Bomber's obviously Bomber. He'll obviously provide...
excitement.
Absolutely, yeah. Whether the Leicester fans all overlook the fact that Bomber, of course, has got a long affiliation with their fierce rivals at Coventry. Mm-hmm. I'm sure once he gets a few big scores in, that'll soon be forgotten.
Of course,
but that's a good solid team, I think, Leicester.
And if you're a Leicester supporter, the one thing that you want is a Coventry team back.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we all want that, don't we? So, but again, I think that's a good solid. Side. Nick Morris has obviously got experience because he's ridden obviously with.
And
Leicester,
they've got. I hate to say it, but they've got a good home track advantage as well.
Yeah, they are going to have a good home track advantage. I think teams going there is going to be a tough ask for a lot of teams. I think it's a good thing as well because Leicester really, and obviously when they were last in the top flight, they struggled for quite a long period of time, didn't they? They never really were able to get a competitive team out. Even the season when they brought Martin Vashalik in, I think he lasted one bend. Got injured and didn't ride for them again.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't have any. I think Leicester now is a club are in a better position than they were when they were last in the top flight because they've promoted Leicester very well. I think the club's got a lot of good commercial things going on. I think it's in a better position than it was then. So I think Leicester are going to be spoilers, definitely.
Just a quick aside to everybody. Everybody's putting their comments up, and we will go through them. But we're going to try and get through the teams first, and then I'm going to see what you guys are saying. Nick, your ideas, I think. After Leicester, we have
Peterborough, and they go with Benjamin Basso, Ben Cook, Niels Christian Everson, Richie Worrell, Hans Anderson, the irrepressible Nicky Pedersen, and their rising star Jordan Jenkins.
Who was pressable. Came off in his first race.
This is the worry I've got with Nicky, to be honest, because I don't think anybody can dispute that. Nicky's always going to be one of these riders. He's never going to be one of these riders that's going to just to turtle around and keep out of trouble. He wants to win every single race. That's in his nature. That's always been the way that he's ridden.
Mm-hmm.
He gives absolutely everything in every meeting he's got. But the problem that Nicky's really had in the last few years, it seems that every time he comes off, he gets crocked. And of course, he's approaching 46 years of age now, so you don't heal as quickly when you get to that sort of age as you did when you were 22, 23.
No.
I know there's a lot of scepticism about amongst the Peterborough fans over signing him. I don't think he had a great period when he was there before. I mean, it's 10, 11 years or so since he rode for Peterborough.
Is it really that long? Wow.
Yeah. That's a bit of a concern. I think once they can get him going, I think over the weekend he raced in Poland and he beat Barta Smoslik and Artem Laguta.
Right.
So that shows that he can still capable of mixing it on the day. And
got a lot of experience, hasn't he? I mean,
yeah. And at the end of the day, it's great to have a genuine pantomime villain back in British Speedway.
It's great to see all these riders starting to trickle back all of a sudden. Hopefully, a sign of good things to come.
And it's again. It looks theoretically, it looks to be a decent top two with Pedersen and Everson. Hans Hansen had a good light last night. I think he got 9. I mean, he struggled last season, but I think obviously having a lot of these experienced Danes alongside him is going to help as well. I think their key man actually could be Benjamin Basso. He made a lot of progress last season. I've seen a lot of Peterborough fans who think he may well end their season as their number one. And I think it's going to be
Peterborough is the right sort of track for him.
Well, of course, it's an important season for Peterborough as well, because to all intents and purposes, it is going to be the last year at their show, certainly at the showground. And so, if they could get some big crowds in there and have a good competitive season, then it's going to put them in good stead.
Okay, next up.
Next up is Sheffield. So they go with Jack Holder, Tobias Musilek, David Balago, Lewis Kerr, Carl Howarth, Adam Ellis, and their rising star is Dan Gilks.
Okay. Not a bad team at all, really.
Solid side. It's not too dissimilar to the scene that they had, of course, that got so close to winning the league last season. And probably over the course of the season were the best team, I thought, Sheffield.
May struggle against teams with really big hitters at the top end, maybe, towards the end of the meeting.
Maybe away from home they might do, yeah. I think at home they'll be okay. Dan Gilks, obviously, is a rider that a lot of people have talked about over the last few years as being one for the future.
And we saw him at Birmingham first, didn't we?
David Balago as well has obviously got a good reputation. He's always a good rider to watch as well.
Yes, lovely style.
So I like the look of that Sheffield team, to be fair.
Rich, I've just got to say, I know I said I was going to do the comments afterwards, but Rich Thomas has just said, good to see Nicky back. Such a nice guy off the track. On it, not so friendly.
That's what you want, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that leaves us with
Wolverhampton, of course, my team. So let's go for that one then. Luke Becker, Sam Masters, Ryan Douglas, Rory Schlein, Zach Cook, Steve Worrell, and the rising star, Leon Flint.
I think you've probably got one of the best rising stars there.
I think so, yeah. I do agree with that. I'm still a little bit maybe suspect at home. I think he's definitely still got, to try and get that experience around Monmouth. With the arrival of all these big stars, it looks a lot weaker team than it did a few months ago.
Yes,
to be fair, I think there's going to be some key riders in that team. Luke Becker, certainly for me, he's a key rider. He's sort of simmered along a little bit, but he needs to really make this. To me, needs to be his breakthrough year.
He needs to get to number one, doesn't he?
I think so. Yeah. Sam Masters, obviously, testimonial year. Rory Schlein, of course, back. Few people obviously, asking the question about the fact that he retired a couple of years ago and now he's come back, but I think circumstances have led to him coming back. I think it's a team that'll do okay at home. My big concern with the Wolves team really is whether it's going to be able to pick up points on the road, and certainly in the big heats, particularly in teams like Ipswich, who are going to be in town.
You've never done well at Ipswich, though, have you? Really?
Never do well. We don't do well at Ipswich at home these days either. So.
Yeah, I mean, Doyley rides your track.
all he rides it well. I don't think Emil's
Seifertenoff might go, what the hell's this?
Well, he has ridden there once, but I've got it in my mind. He only did two races and pulled out. This is when he was at Coventry in 2011. So I don't think it's the sort of track that he would ride. He would, listen, Emil Seifertenoff's a world-class rider. He should be able to.
John Bird says Becker, Douglas and Worrell need to step up this season.
Certainly Becker. I was a little bit surprised that not surprised that Worrell came back, but he was. If I was being really ruthless, I would have probably said he would have been the rider that made way, because even though he had a good season,
actually did say that.
He had a great. Don't get me wrong, he had a brilliant season last year, but it's whether he can sort of maintain that, particularly in a league that's going to be stronger. Right.
Okay. So we're on put up or shut up time now.
Yep.
So I'm going to let you go first because it's the league that your team's in.
Well, I've agonised over the first and second, to be fair, but I've gone for Sheffield to win it.
Okay.
Ipswich second, Leicester third, Bellevue fourth.
Okay, for me, it's Ipswich. I'm just writing it down as I go. I'm going to say the other way around to you, actually, Ipswich, poor old Sheffield. I'm going to say Bellevue, and I'm going to say Leicester. I'm surprised you didn't put Wolves in there somewhere. Webby, what order are you going to go?
Have you been listening?
No. Am I talking about the right things? Bellevue, Leicester.
Bellevue, yeah.
Sheffield.
And you need another one.
Arsenal.
Just say Wolverhampton.
I will say Wolverhampton.
No, that'd be ridiculous. Though,
can I say Wolverhampton? Because there's always one that creeps in, isn't there?
Well,
there is one.
It won't be Wolverhampton, but you never know.
Okay, let's get to the championship.
Okay, new league sponsor, of course, in that league. The Cab Direct.
Another positive move. I mean, it's not. We should, before we actually go on to it, look, is there any comments that we need to have a look at?
Okay.
Because there's loads of stuff there. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Jeff Daniels makes the point, as we all know, nothing is won in March. Long time until October. Team changes could yet happen. Anything could happen in Speedway. Will there be Speedway in October? Because a lot of the teams finish in September and before.
Yeah, they've arranged it to try and finish it earlier this season, haven't they? Which I think, obviously, last season's shenanigans.
Peterborough's moving of the inside line isn't unique. This was done at Bellevue, the old Bellevue, when the Brummies were the visitors some years ago. A deep puddle had appeared on the first bend, so this was Bellevue's way to make sure the riders avoided the wet patch.
There's one up here, I'm not sure we've read that one yet.
Seems like a broken record. This is Craig Smee repeating itself again and a bit, but Bellevue seem to be missing a racer in the team. Zager and Frick are hard riders to replace, and I feel we have not really replaced them. Mulford came onto the scenes with the Kent Kings and was an instant success. With the right financial backing, he could go all the way to the GPs, says Ben Clifton. Craig Smee, Ipswich are my favourites for the title this year. Transfers we know can happen, but I feel Ipswich and Sheffield will be in the final.
That's what I think.
Yeah, that's what we've sort of both gone, but different way around. Ipswich look good. We'll meet Sheffield in the final. Kasperzak gone by June. Seifertenoff is a Polish citizen and rides on a Polish licence, from David James. John Bird, top four. Sheffield win it, too strong at reserve at the moment. Kerr, then it will be Howarth or Balago throughout the season at reserve. Ipswich, Bellevue, Wolves. So he's put Wolves in there.
Yeah, that's the thing with Sheffield. They are going to have a strong reserve all the way through the season. So
Leicester look reasonable.
Yeah, I think they're spoilers.
Says Richard Thomas. Dave Twine, Sheffield, Ipswich, Leicester, Wolves, top four for me. Craig Smee, my top four: Ipswich, Sheffield, Bellevue, Leicester. I think Wolves will finish bottom. They were poor last season and had Kingsley started with the team they finished with. Wolves wouldn't have made the playoffs. Wolves haven't really changed their team this season, and I feel they'll struggle, especially away from home.
Yeah, that's my worry. I'm struggling to see where the away wins are coming from for us.
David James says Dan Gilks will be gone by June.
There's a bit of a theme.
I'm just waiting for someone to say Anders will be gone soon as well.
I'll be gone soon.
I'll be gone tomorrow. Right, I'm off to Mallorca, you say.
Oh, yeah. That's every time you go.
And David James wants to know why. So there we go. I think that, we've sort of caught up. I'm aware of the time. It's past already, would you believe, gentlemen?
Jeff Daniels has gone for Bellevue, Sheffield, Ipswich, Leicester. Simon Corbett, Sheffield for me, Ipswich, Bellevue and Peterborough.
Okay.
It's a tough one to call, to be fair, because there's some good sides in this league.
Injuries will play its part, of course. I mean, the problem with putting your eggs in one basket as far as a top rider is if that rider gets injured, that's difficult to replace.
Yep.
But you take your money, or even you pay your money, you take your choice. You take your money and pay your choice.
Yep.
That doesn't work. Right, championship.
Yep.
What you're talking about.
A lot of changes in the championship as well, aren't there? You've got
Yes.
two home, two away. You've got the BSN series as well,
Yep.
obviously to try and fill the...
Which is a good move, I think.
Yep. So let's go in straight into the teams.
First up.
First up is Berwick, and there we go with Leon Flint, Thomas Jorgensen, Joe Etheridge, Jonas Knudsen, Nathan Stoneman, Rory Schlein, and Connor Coles.
It's not a bad side, is it?
Good side of the arm, I think.
Always a good side at Berwick. Big year for Leon Flint.
Oh, I think so. He's made a lot of progress in the last few years. And there's possibly going to be an expectation on Berwick for him to be the number one this season, certainly to challenge Rory Schlein. I don't see Rory having any issues at Berwick. It's his sort of track, to be fair. But I don't think it's a contender for winning the league. But it's certainly going to be a team that might stop somebody else from doing it. And again, Berwick, tough place to go.
It's not 2 home, 2 away. That was changed at the AGM. Yes.
Right, fair enough.
Lawrence Rogers, he would know.
Well, you'd like to think so. Sorry, Lawrence.
I'm with you. I think it's a good, solid team. I'm not sure about Nathan Stoneman. Bit hot and cold for me.
A little bit, yeah.
So, yeah.
Thomas Jorgensen's an exciting rider to watch.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Can be a bit inconsistent sometimes as well.
So, oh dear. Okay, next up. He's going to be Birmingham. Yeah.
Birmingham, yep. Okay, let's go for this one then. James Pearson, Justin Sedgman, Stefan Nielsen, Nick Morris, James Wright, Alfie Bowtell, and Ty Proctor.
Okay, so there's been quite a lot of negativity about this team from lots of quarters that are not associated with Birmingham.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that bad a team, if I'm honest.
I think the key man is going to be that man at the bottom, Ty Proctor.
Ty Proctor,
because there's a good rider in Ty.
That's not a bad...
Very good rider. Obviously, he was very, very good when he rode for Wolves, although it was for quite a few years ago. He's obviously had a lot of issues in the last few seasons with personal issues and obviously the issues with his visa as well. If they can get him going, then he's going to be a handy man to have at the bottom end of the team. And obviously we're having a few other Aussies in the team as well, with Nick Morris, Justin Sedgman and James Pearson as well. That should help him settle in. And Birmingham's a track he has done well on in the past as well. He always seemed to ride well there when he rode for Wolves, when Wolves were there in the top league. So,
and the track, I was actually at the track last weekend, and it's looking really good. They've done a lot of work on that.
Again, yeah. Needed a lot of. I mean, it was a big improvement on the 2021 season last year, but there was still a lot of work that needed to be.
They have. Richard Thomas says Proctor gone by June. That was predictable. Okay, so I mean, for me, it's not a bad team. I know people say Nick Morris isn't going to keep that average, but I mean, he got the average. And okay, he hasn't got so much home advantage maybe as he would have had at Leicester, but maybe he'll take a point off it. Maybe
it's a decent top two in Morris and Sedgman, isn't it? So,
I mean, particularly if Sedgman carries on like he's been riding in Australia over the winter. Good signs from Pearson over the winter as well in Australia. So,
well, of course, he's got that experience of riding all the tracks now, hasn't he? So he'll know what to expect this time.
Absolutely. So I'm waiting for Richard Thomas to go That person will be gone by June. But
Okay, let's go with the next one then. That's Edinburgh. So they've gone for Josh Pickering, Kyle Bickley, Jacob Hook, Kai Thompson, Lassie Fredrickson, Paco Castagna, and Craig Cook.
it's a good-looking side.
Yep. Of course, they haven't got the Masters Pickering spearhead this season. Of course, Masters has obviously moved on to Oxford. Craig Cook's obviously had a tough few years, but he's back at a place, of course, where he's been before. Hopefully, he can sort of reach.
Puts his head in the right place. He's a good rider.
He's certainly in that league. But it's a good solid team. Edinburgh. They're going, I suppose the big bonus with Edinburgh is the fact that they are running. Of course, after the move to the new stadium fell through. Of course, they managed to get a reprieve at Armadale.
We don't know for how long, really. Good luck with that. It's just a very strong side all the way through. I think
it's a well-run club, isn't it?
They're always there or thereabouts, aren't they?
Yeah, I've got a lot of respect for Edinburgh as a club. It's a very well-run
They do
club.
it right.
Yeah, they do. They do a lot of good. It's a good community club as well. Like Berwick are the same.
Yeah. Seems to be a Scottish thing.
Yeah, they're going to be okay. So next up, talking of another Scottish team, we've got Glasgow.
Well, I
so
don't think Berwick is in Scotland anymore, is it?
No,
It never was in Scotland.
Was it? Yeah.
Don't ask a Berwick Rangers fan though, because they'll say they spelled it differently. Won't they? So Benjamin Basso, let's Glasgow then. Benjamin Basso, Ace Piper, Tom Brennan, Marcin Nowak, Chris Harris, Lee Complin, and Klaus Vissing.
Yeah, that's interesting, Mr. Vissing.
I might have someone to say Vissing will be gone by June.
He'll be at number 1 by June. Seems to have got his average down nicely.
Yep.
Over the last year.
Lee Complin's the interesting one, isn't he? Because I'm surprised. I mean, it's a long old slip up to Glasgow. One club I was surprised that I thought he wouldn't have gone to was there, but
it's a strong side, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a strong looking side, I think. Possibly a contender again.
I think so. They've got a good top three, haven't they? Certainly in top two with Brennan and Bomber. Klaus Vissing, of course, is going to be the interesting one. Obviously, the issues that Birmingham had with him last season, which were fairly well documented, I think.
Klaus Missing, I think was.
Oh yes, I did see that quite a bit.
Yeah.
I fully expect him to do really well. To be honest,
it's a decent side, isn't it? Decent side. Tom Brennan, obviously, is probably the rider that a lot of people are going to be looking to see how much progress he makes in 2023. So.
Dave Tyne says there's about 8 riders that moved up from National League this season, so I think Proctor will do well at reserve. After that, I reserve judgment. Yeah. Is that reserve judgment for him or for the whole team? Not sure.
Yeah, solid team though, Glasgow, I think. Right, let's move on to the next one then. That is Oxford. And they are going for Sam Masters, Lewis Kerr, Scott Nichols, Cameron Heaps, Jordan Jenkins, Henry Atkins, and Luke Killeen.
It's not a bad side.
Well, we said that about Oxford last year, didn't we? And they had a bad season in the end, didn't they?
Did we not beat them?
Yep. Scott Nichols, obviously, dependable as ever. Sam Masters, of course, coming in as the number one. That's a big move there. Scott Nichols, of course, only doing the championship this season, of course, not doing the top league, unless, of course, somebody makes a change. I suspect that's sort of obviously Scott's obviously got his secondary career as coming up in the media, so I suppose that sort of benefits him in that sense. But I think that's a good solid team. Oxford, it was probably the big success story of last season. Although the results weren't great, they were getting big crowds in at Cowley, which shows that again that gives hope to teams like Coventry, doesn't it? And that they can sort of you can find a way back.
Do they need some success to keep those big crowds? Do we think?
I think they probably will do. I wonder as well whether maybe some of the Oxford fans who sort of remember the halcyon days of your Hans Nielsen's and your Andy Grahams might be pining for a move at some point up into the top league.
Obvious, but be careful what you wish for. That's what happened.
Well, if Phil Morris makes a lot of changes in the top league that are positive, then maybe a few other teams might be tempted to move up. Okay. Next up is Plymouth. So they've gone for Richie Worrell, Dan Gilks, Kyle Howarth, Ben Barker, Ben Trigger, Paul Stark, and Jake Turner. A bit of a long tail, I think, isn't it?
Yeah,
But,
I would say that's.
they've one thing about Plymouth, of course, is their home track advantage. You know, they've obviously Ben Barker's pretty good round there. He's obviously got a lot of experience riding for Plymouth. Carl Howarth, of course, Plymouth is a very, very different track to what he's been used to up at Sheffield.
Just a bit.
Just a bit, yeah.
You could probably put about 4 of.
Yeah, they've
Plymouth
got. It's
into
a real unknown quantity because I think you look at a lot of the riders down there: Ben Trigger, Jake Turner, Dan Jokes. Obviously, we know a little bit more about him. Paul Stark, of course, had a nightmare time in 2022, didn't he, with injuries? So he'll need a clear run. If they can keep him fit, then we've seen
Seen him do good stuff.
Yeah,
at that level.
I've got a nice lad, Paul Stark. I've got a lot of time for him. I think he's a good, tidy little rider. But he needs a clear run of injuries I think. But I'm not so sure about Plymouth as a playoff team.
No, I'm not either.
Okay.
That could be a spoiler, though.
Could be a spoiler. Certainly on home track anyway. Okay. Next up are Poole. So they've gone for Steve Worrell, Ben Cook, Zach Cook, Richard Lawson, Carl Newman, Adam Roynan, and Anders Rowe.
Anders Rowe is a good
Yeah.
move. It's nice to see he's got a job at last.
You'd never write Poole off, do you?
You never write Paul off because they will make changes if they need to. But judging on that form, it's not the best team they've picked.
Not so sure, to be honest. I mean, the Cook brothers obviously made a big impression there last year. Richard Lawson's a good, solid performer at championship level, as is Steve Worrell. Adam Roynan, of course, I think Adam Roylan's one of these riders that I think would have gone a long way in the sport had he not had some horrendous injuries there. And Anders Rowe,
nice lad as well.
Lovely guy. And Anders Rowe's made a lot of progress, I think. Certainly that spell. I mean, obviously we had him on the show a couple of years ago.
Roynan and Newman will be gone by June.
I mean, we had Anders Rowe on the show a couple of years ago, didn't we? We really good chat with him. Obviously he had that spell racing in Poland, which I think benefited him well as well. So, but I don't think you can. I certainly would never ever make the mistake of writing Poole off, even though I don't think they should be in that league. But it's obviously their choice.
Maybe with the whole thing, as we were just saying with Phil Morris, they might make their way back up.
Go on, Phil. You're under pressure here, mate. So
All
these changes that you were expecting you to make. So. Next up is Redcar, and they've gone for Eric Riss, Charles Wright, Daniel Hume, Danny King, Jason Edwards, Jake Mulford, and Connor Bailey.
I think that's a strong team.
I fancy Redcar to do very well this season, although they obviously didn't have I know it was only a challenge meeting, but it wasn't a convincing win against the Newcastle Select.
Are you putting that right, Chris?
Pardon?
You can't spell Birmingham.
Well, you know what? I did that with my screen off. Ain't that good?
He's from Solihull, that's why. So.
Yeah.
I'm gonna abbreviate anyway.
When in doubt. Sorry.
Yeah. Daniel Hume again, obviously, another rider. I'm expecting big things from this season. Jason Edwards had a very good season in 2022.
Yep. Good rider, good little. I mean, it's solid all the way down.
Yeah, that's a strong. Danny King's obviously coming into the team as well. Charles Wright's obviously established there as their top rider, as has been for the last few seasons. I think Redcar. You look at clubs like Birmingham who've obviously struggled since they've been back in the second tier. I think Redcar are a good example to look at because for a long period of time they were sort of struggling, and they've really turned it around now, and they've really are established as one of the top sides in the league. And I think they're going to be a serious contender in 2023.
Right.
And that leaves us with Scunthorpe. So they've gone for Joe Thompson, Zane Kennedy, Connor Mountain, Simon Lambert, Michael Palmtoft, Jake Allen, and Ryan Douglas.
Not a bad team.
Solid all the way through, isn't it? So
Not a bad team. Just possibly not quite on the money for me.
Possibly away from home might be their issue. I think they're going to be good at home. They've obviously they've been pretty good the last couple of seasons. I think they've got in the playoffs the last 2 seasons, haven't they? So well, they haven't been able to get any further than that. But they're going to be another one of these teams. I think that are going to be, real spoilers and might stop somebody else from being successful, even if they don't manage to do it themselves.
Right, well, it's put up or shut up time. I think we're probably going to have to wait to do the National League predictions next week.
Yep.
Because it's 2:45 now.
Yep.
Put up, so I suppose I better go first, haven't I?
Up to you.
So I'm going to say Edinburgh.
Yep.
I'm going to say Redcar.
Yep.
I'm going to say Birmingham.
Right.
And now I'm going to say Oxford. Go on.
Richie Sunak gone by June.
We're getting into that now, are we? So.
Love it.
Okay. So anyway, your
Oh, is it my
prediction.
go?
Yes, your go.
Right, okay.
Top 6, remember, because it's
Top 6.
Is it 6?
No,
Is
we're
it-
doing top 4. We're doing top
all
4.
right.
Top four, yeah.
Don't. If you're going to do top 6, I'll add Poole, and I'll add Glasgow, but not necessarily in that order.
Okay.
Go on then.
Okay,
top 6.
I'll go Oxford, Poole,
Yep.
Birmingham,
Mm-hmm.
Glasgow, Redcar. Is there another one as well?
Yeah,
Is that 5?
that's 5.
Oh, crikey. What choices have I got? Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
There you go.
In that order.
Yeah, go on.
Well, okay.
He who laughs last.
Okay. Well, I've gone for Redcar to win it,
Interesting.
Poole second, and then I've gone Oxford, Glasgow, Edinburgh, and Birmingham.
Ah, bless.
Is this for bonus points at the end of the prediction league or something? Because we should have it as bonus points, shouldn't we?
You mean a tiebreaker?
Good too.
Oh, yeah, okay.
If it's a tiebreaker, should we need it?
Or it could be another competition. You know what? You get 2 competitions in Speedway.
This is the knockout cup.
Yeah, the knockout. This is the knockout cup.
We
Yeah,
could
yeah.
do a knockout.
This
cup,
could be the
couldn't we?
Speedway Tavern knockout cup.
Okay, so do you want to go back through up? Is there any comments that
Oh, I think we've. Oh, hang on. I think we've.
lots
I
of
think- I
different?
think we've caught up, haven't we?
The one thing that I'm getting from this is there are a lot of sort of different permutations coming out in the championship. It's probably a closer.
I think you could say that about the top. Well, mate, I think there's probably more of a definitive advantage for teams like Ipswich and Sheffield in the top league.
Top 6 for Rich Thomas, Glasgow, Redcar, Oxford, Brompool, Edinburgh. Yeah, I mean, there's the only team that I haven't seen Scunthorpe. Oh no, there was Scunthorpe.
Yep.
So, hey ho.
I think we ought to
Bring it on.
We ought to make our first predictions for the Nigel Pearson Prediction League. I
Yes.
think.
Gosh,
So,
yes.
the first 6 matches of the season. So,
How many have we missed? How many? Well, me and Mike missed.
well, we haven't started it yet.
Oh, right, okay.
We haven't started it
So-
yet.
Oh, good.
So we've missed none.
No, yeah.
Get in there.
Okay, so the first one
Yeah.
is on Thursday. Knockout Cup quarter-final first leg. Kings Lynn against Sheffield.
Matt, you can go first.
I've gone Sheffield by 4 on that one.
Okay. Rebbe?
I'll go Sheffield by 8.
I'll say Sheffield by 6. Get in the middle.
And by the way, just a point if anybody's not seen, it's not on BSN. And it was supposed to be on BSN, but it's now been changed
Okay.
due to, say, unforeseen circumstances.
They lost the internet. Okay.
Okay, the next one. This will be an interesting one. Leicester against Ipswich.
And it's up to you.
I'll go Ipswich by 6.
I'm going to say Leicester by 2.
I've gone Leicester by 4.
So we're all expecting a close match.
Yep. Okay, next up on Friday, we've got Redcar against Berwick, and that's in the first round of the Knockout Cup.
And that's up to you, Matt.
I've gone Redcar by 14.
I'll go red car by 10.
I'm going to say red car by 12. I'm going in the middle again.
Okay. Okay. Next up is the return match at Shelfield Park on Saturday. Berwick against Redcar.
It's up to you, Chris.
Sorry, what was it? What,
No, it's not. It's
no, it's up to you, isn't it?
Go on, let's not argue.
It's up to you.
Go on
It's
then.
up to you, Matt, because you went first. Yeah, I'll get it. We've gone out of order a little bit. So.
Yeah, I've gone Berwick by 8. So a red card to get through.
I'll go Berwick by 4.
I'll say Berwick by 4 as well.
So we're going for a red card to get through over 2 legs on that one. Next up, first National League Development League match of the season, Mildenhall against Kent. We will talk about the National League more in depth next week.
Sure,
by the way,
go
so-
first, Chris.
Kent by 4.
I'm going to say Mildenhall by 4.
I've gone Mildenhall by 4 as well. We will talk about the National League in more depth
Next week.
next week.
yeah.
Of course, the big thing, obviously, in that league is the return of Workington, which
Yes.
everyone's really
which
excited about, I think.
We should. Yeah.
And last but by no means least, on Monday, Wolves against Kings Lynn.
I mean, it's up to me. Wolves by 12.
Wolves by 10, I've gone.
I'll go Wolves by 6.
I think that'll be a relatively close one. 2 teams that probably aren't fancied to do that well this season.
Although a few people have put them in the top 4.
Yeah,
So I think those people might have black country accents. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but
or drunk. They might just be drunk. Wrong drugs.
maybe.
Okay.
Okay, some of the comments aren't showing on there for some reason.
Oh, would you like to chuck them our way?
Oh, hang on. Oh, actually, no, I think no. Championship is only 1 home and away.
Yep.
If you go out of BSN and the KO Cup early and don't make playoffs, you will only have 11 home meetings, says Fred Graham.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're in a situation of it is what it is.
Yep. One thing I did want to talk about as well, of course, the decision to introduce transponders to all
Oh, gosh,
Premiership
yeah,
and
well-
Championship during 2023.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
So this technology will provide accurate timing for live timing and assist in resolving close finishes, which will also be made available to Eurosport and BSN for their to use during broadcasts.
it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, just from the point of view of how many times have we gone, well, that rider didn't win that one.
Yep.
That rider, well, there's no doubt now, is there? Yeah, you've got that information that it all comes up. He was first. He was second.
Well, it'll be interesting as well if they're doing it with different timings, whether they'll be able to get the times for all 4 riders, because then that'll be interesting to see the sort of time difference
explain to
between
the
them.
uninitiated and the people who are a bit thick.
Yourself, you mean?
Yeah.
Pete Clark makes we'll have to talk about that as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so they're putting transponders in the bikes. You know what a transponder
Yep,
is?
shall we?
It transmits
Transponders.
signals to a computer, essentially.
Yep.
And I presume they have to put it in exactly the same spot on each bike, otherwise that would be interesting. I can see someone having a long pole with the transponder out there. I hope I'm not putting any thoughts into people's heads. So basically, that's tracked by a computer, so it knows where how long it takes you to do a lap exactly.
Got ya. Yeah, right, okay. That's clever.
So,
Nice to think it would be, some point it might be used to see whether riders move at the start before the tapes go up,
yeah,
because that does frustrate me. So,
you know my opinion on that one. Let them move. It's the calling them back that frustrates me.
Yeah.
If they don't touch the tapes, it's a fair start, isn't it?
yep.
That's
Well, if you try and anticipate the start and then you mess it up and you fall out the start, then tough
Yeah.
luck. It's your fault.
So that's my opinion on that one. Pete Clark mentioned it first, and then Dave Klein's asking, is it a good idea? 1 minute to go, gentlemen.
It is only obviously for reruns,
For
isn't it?
reruns,
So,
yeah. If nobody's fallen off. And
as long as it's enforced by the referees, I think it's a good move.
That's what Brian says. Brian Bock says, good move to introduce the 1 minute warning, just as long as it is enforced. I mean, it was like we said about the gardening. They said, well, no, you're not allowed to do that anymore. It lasted about one meeting, didn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of that's down to the riders saying, well, we're not going to go with that.
Yeah.
I guess they would be, Lawrence. Lawrence says the transponders are all going in the same position on all bikes. Another little job for the inspector to keep his eye on, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, both. I mean, there are a lot of good ideas come out this year. A lot of things that we as fans, the sort of thing we've been looking at. It's that clarification of things, so we will know that rider came first, and that it might look to us that it didn't, but we've got the technology to back it up. But how many times have we been at races and gone, are you sure he won? It didn't look like it looked like it was a whole bike's length behind to me.
The one thing that gets me is the dead heats where they have to decide, because you can't have a dead heat. I mean, I don't know how they do it. I mean, what do they do? Do they just toss a coin or?
Brian Buck said, noticed that Wolverhampton had a time clock all last season, but riders and referees took little notice of it.
Just used to just change colour. I don't think anyone took a blind minute notice, to be fair. So.
Just something to look
that
at.
or Porky was standing in front of it. So, sorry, Porky.
Well, nobody would see it then, would they? Ooh.
So, are we all optimistic that this will be a good season for Speedway?
It feels like
I'm optimistic about this season. Yeah,
it feels like it. It's had a good start.
Yeah. Hopefully as well, just to we didn't include it on the as is the challenge, we didn't include it on the predictions, but just hopefully they have a good night at Oxford tomorrow, because of course they're racing against a Swindon Select. Fierce old rivalry many years ago between Oxford and Swindon, so it'd be good to see a lot of Swindon fans making the journey over to Oxford to keep the Robins name alive, because another club that we do need back in British Speedway.
We should also mention Birmingham's first match against Coventry. Had a great crowd last year for that. Again, keeping the name alive, and there have been positive sounds
about the team Coventry are going to have out. So
transfer. Dave Twine says there's been a transfer window change to stop late changes before playoffs. I'm going to have to take his word on that. I haven't seen anything about that. And Rich Thomas says it can't be any worse than the last few years.
Yeah, well, the one thing I'm pleased about as well is that they've sort of made a bit of effort to try and schedule the playoffs so that we get them in a bit earlier, because starting playoffs in October, they've done it repeatedly over the last few years, and as it's been proven over times, you can't rely on the weather.
Well, you got the ridiculous situation where one of the meetings wasn't finished and it's going to start.
Yeah, it was the Jubilee.
Jubilee Cup, wasn't it? Final, and one of the teams is now in the Premiership and the other one's in the Championship. How do you?
Well, didn't one of the teams pull out? I think Glasgow pulled out of it, didn't they? Because they felt it wasn't respected to have it because of course the Queen. Because obviously we were losing the Queen last year. So,
hey ho. Right. Well, that time went very, very, very quickly. Just want to say thank you to everybody out there for joining in. It makes the show work. It's all about your voices, really. Thank you to Birmingham Speedway Supporters Club for coming in, and we've got some possible shows coming up which are extra to what we're doing in the Speedway Tavern, and we're quite excited about that. I don't think there's anything else to say, is there?
No, except enjoy your Speedway.
Enjoy your Speedway this week, yep. And I'll keep watching the results from Mallorca.
Oh, he's got it in, hasn't he?
Hope it rains.
It probably will. Right, take care, everyone. Good night.
Welcome to the Speedway. Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your stay. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. What's the news today? Have a drink, have your say. All opinions here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your stay. Where the